It's now just a number of hours before Celtic take on Bayern Munich in the Champions League playoff at Celtic Park, boosted massively with the news that DAIZEN MAEDA will be able to take his place for this one. This is Tino with the count at the kick-off, Paddy, ahead of, let's call it, Celtic's biggest European game in some years, and it's one we're all looking forward to. What's your initial thoughts ahead of the big one?
Yeah, I think for those that have listened and watched the weekly show, I think it was the more I was talking about it there, I was starting to get a bit of a buzz on the go, and I feel like that's just got even more ramped up from that news last night from Celtic about DAIZEN MAEDA. Absolutely great injection of energy for the full team, for the fan base, and after the performance on Saturday, the performances from him lately, I just think we're all ready to go. One of the funny things is there's a bit of a laugh in the group about the message last night. There's a boy that cries wolf, as we call it. Basically, a friend of ours, Big Nicky, likes to wind us up with some of his interpretations of Celtic stories. Some funny ones about Don Mackay and the likes, but he talks as if he's in the know, but just creates his own spin on it. So when he put this post in last night, we were all like, "Your arse, basically, you're at it, no chance." And then one of the guys, wee Stevie, went and checked and was like, no, he's playing. So just a great surprise for us all. I think I just can't wait to see what Maeda does to this Bayern defence.
Do you know, it was the bonus none of us were expecting. None of us were even waiting on it. There was no news on any sort of appeal. I don't know how it was kind of missed. There was just no noise from the club or anything. You just thought, well, that's it. UEFA have said it's a two-game, and we just need to take our medicine and go on with it. I had a similar situation. Brido sent it to me. Brido, by his own admission, if he's watching this, isn't a man really for Twitter and social media. But he sent me something and I went, oh, there's somebody caught Brido out with a fake post. Right on the money. And then you see it start to come in different areas. And it was such a welcome boost. It just seems that everything DAIZEN MAEDA is close to at the moment turns to gold. Whether it's football stuff, off the field, wholesome moments with the family against Wraith Rovers, hat tricks, you name it. He is absolutely the man of the moment. And it's a huge boost, it really is. We send out a newsletter every Tuesday here at the Celtic Exchange, and a lot of folk watching and listening will be subscribed to it. If you're not, there's a link in the show notes if you want to check that out. Free newsletter every Tuesday with the latest on Celtic. And we always put a decent quote from the week in Celtic in there. And the quote this week, it was from Luke McCowan. He was talking about just what DAIZEN MAEDA brings to the party. I'll catch the quote right now, Paddy, just to get it in its entirety. He said his mentality in every game is ruthless. He wants to score every game, help the team to defend and attack at every moment, and that brushes off on everyone in the squad, and he's a real joy to play alongside. And Paddy, that's it. It's not just the boost that DAIZEN MAEDA gives in terms of what he himself personally can bring, it's what he brings to those around him as well as a fan base. It's massive for us.
Well, 100%. And I think, again, we touched on it last night in the weekly show without us really knowing any information about what happened, that, with the likes of Jota, with the likes of Ida, you lose that press that you get from Maeda and Kyogo, which actually you see our midfield gain a lot of energy from and really try and camp players in their own half. So the fact that you've got the running of Maeda tomorrow night is massive for us. And I don't think it's a case of if there's any doubt if he'll start or not. I think it's a definite that he will. And I think I'm reading some funny stories about the whole appeal process. It was almost as if when they were walking out the room being told that the fans were allowed in, they've just said, what about Maeda? And somebody's just given it the go-ahead saying, aye, he's fine as well. And you go, UEFA have looked after Celtic in this one. I've seen a remake of the banner that said something else UEFA, now been changed to thanks UEFA. So long may that continue.
Yeah, Celtic and UEFA are all pals again. All is forgiven. Paddy, I was going to put a tweet out today, might still do it later on, in terms of just the stream of good news that's kind of coming Celtic's way just now. There's undoubtedly a feel-good factor in the air. I'll take it back though. Less than a week ago, 6 days ago to the Dundee game, you beat Dundee 6-0 at Celtic Park on Wednesday night. On Friday, you find out that away fans, Celtic fans, will be allowed to travel to Germany and take their place in the Allianz Arena next Tuesday for that all-important game. On Saturday, Celtic follow up the Dundee game with a 5-0 thrashing of Wraith Rovers. DAIZEN MAEDA hat-trick. Young masterclass and everything else into the bargain. Sunday, Queen's Park go and make history of some sort and take their place at the expense of Rangers in the quarterfinals of the Scottish Cup. Monday, DAIZEN MAEDA's appeal that we didn't even know about is successful. It's raining Celtic at the moment, and the feel-good factor is absolutely amongst the fans, and the players will pick up on that as well, Paddy.
It's a real only an excuse sketch where Larson fixes the radio moment, isn't it? Especially if you're a Rangers fan, they're probably foaming the fact that everything's coming up Celtic at the moment. So no, listen, we still need to take this great news about Maeda, the great form that we're in, some great goal scoring form that we're in over the last few games, and really take this game to Bayern Munich tomorrow night. And Celtic can have respect tomorrow night, absolutely, but we shouldn't fear it. We shouldn't fear it. We should go out and enjoy it and actually trust in what's got us to this place in the first place. And with our strongest squad available, I think that we just go into it and see what happens. Listen, they're a good enough team. They could show up, pick us off, no problem. I don't think any of us doubt that, and I don't think any of us don't respect that idea. But if they have a bad day and Celtic have a good day, Celtic are going to win. Yeah,
do you know, all things are possible, Paddy, and let's just hope that Celtic put up the best version of themselves and give themselves a fighting chance, whatever comes. We've got to be competitive, that's the bare minimum. And at that point, who knows? We've got match winners in the team. We're going to get to them shortly. Maeda's one of them, Jota's one of them, Nicholas Kuhn's one of them, Adamida's one of them, Arne Engels is one of them, and there's a few others to boot. And yeah, sometimes you need that bit of luck as well in these kind of games, but Celtic do have the capability to get through this tie without underestimating the challenge that they face. Before we kick on, Paddy, massive hello to everyone who's joining us here on the live. Some great numbers, and good to see a lot of the regular names appearing. Pat McLaughlin, FTB, Martin K. We've got Gypsy King in the room and Mr. C, amongst others. So let us know. You do need to be subscribed to the channel. You need to be a channel member to make any comments or questions here on this live. Again, there's a link to do so in the show notes. Myself and Paddy will be here for around about half an hour from now, so let us know any comments and questions between now and then. Paddy, let's kick on with a lineup then. Maeda undoubtedly takes his place in that, but there is a big call to be made at the top of the park. Let me try and get to that quickly, because I think the rest of it kind of takes care of itself in the shape of Kasper Schmeichel in goals, Alistair Johnson right back. I think it's Greg Taylor over Jeffrey Schlupp at left back, and you'll have Trusty and CCV in the centre of defence. Callum McGregor will take his place in the number 6. He'll be flanked by Arne Engels and Rio Hatate. No news just yet on Bernardo. I don't think he trained. I think he's got to be a serious doubt, in terms of playing any part in the game. Then up top, 4 into 3 doesn't go. Only 3 can start up top. The 4 are Adamida, Nicholas Kuhn, DAIZEN MAEDA, and Jota.
Yeah.
I've got a strong idea of who I think he'll go with, but what's your take on that?
It's a really tough one, isn't it? And if only we could kind of tell how the game's going before the game starts. I think for me, it's the reward to Adamida to start him tomorrow night, I think. And we have spoke about the impact Jota has had since he's arrived back, and a goal and assist, and he's been involved in play, and it's just great to see him back in the hoops. I like the idea of Jota coming in with maybe half an hour to go, fresh legs, and giving Bayern potentially another headache. And that's depending on where the result is, whether Bayern have a narrow lead, it's a draw, or if even Celtic have the lead. Three scenarios that we hope are still keeping us close in the game, that when Jota comes on, the impact will be there. If it's Maeda, Ida and Kuhn, I would be happy with that. If Ida is dropped and Maeda goes through the middle and Jota starts, I know we'll see Ida later on, and I would be really happy with that as well. But I do think he'll reward Adamida. Yeah,
it is really difficult, and it's a very welcome problem to have, and the manager will be delighted to have the option. But it's a real hard one. He's got a real decision to make, because you need to be ruthless at this level, and sometimes you need to make unpopular decisions if they are for the greater good. the right thing to do, in my opinion, inverted commas, right thing to do is to start Adam Maeda. He deserves the start. He's got 4 goals in 3 games. He was fully rested at the weekend. He was on the bench but never took any part in the game. So he's fully rested with a view to taking his place tomorrow night. Then the Maeda news comes and that just changes everything. That throws plan A out the window and it's back to the drawing board for the manager to decide what suits best. And it's what makes it doubly difficult is he could make a call based on tomorrow night alone, which could upset the apple cart for the rest of the season. It could leave you with a very unhappy Adam Maeda. It might cause some further issues through the squad. I do think we've got a mature squad and everyone in it together for the team, but it could rock the boat. But what's your take on that, first of all, before I kick on?
Yeah, listen, I think I'm obviously mentioning that I think that will be the way it will happen out of the respect for Adam Maeda. But I actually don't see him spitting the dummy about it. I don't think that would be the case. I think that he would be aware of, the fact that he's scored some goals lately. So is Maeda, and Maeda is a nuisance in any of the positions he plays in the front three. Jota is a proven talent as well. But for me, I think that Ida will know that he has a massive part to play in that game, regardless whether he starts or whether he comes on. Leading the line against a team like Bayern Munich is a huge task, and he done the task extremely well against Aston Villa, and we can't forget that. So for me, I don't think he'll spit the dummy about it. It's another test for him, absolutely. But the rotation between that 4, especially if we progress in Europe, is going to be crucial. So again, I go back to this. I don't think this Celtic team has such a thing as a set front 3 or a set 11. I think the rotation's massive for us, and I think that majority will feel themselves as a squad player more than anything in terms of guaranteed starters.
Yeah, and I think if Celtic are to progress, and obviously tomorrow night is just one half of the tie, so there's a full other game to worry about next week in Germany. But if they are to progress, it'll only be possible with a massive team effort. I've said this a lot, but 11 guys can't get you through. 11 guys can't win your leagues. The modern game, as much as at any other time, it's all about the squad and the 16, 17, 18, or whatever it might be across the course of a season. And I think you're right. If he makes the call not to start Adam Maeda, there's nothing to suggest Adam Maeda will take the huff. But there is no doubt there would be huge disappointment, understandably so, given that I would argue this would be the case for everybody that signs for Celtic, but Adam Maeda has signed for these big games, these big European nights, these big Champions League nights. You would expect there might be friends and family in the crowd. And up until the Maeda news, you would certainly put the house on Adam Maeda starting. Now it's not so clear. So there is a serious argument for leaving Adam Maeda out, going with Maeda's blistering pace through the middle and have him flanked by Nicholas Kuhn on the right and the returning Jota on the left-hand side. It would be such an exciting front 3, and I think folks are keen to see that in general. The pace is such a huge part of it, and there's an interesting comment from Pat McLaughlin. Great profile picture, Pat. And Pat says, I was listening to something earlier, and they said Munich's high line can be exposed. Does Ida have the pace to take it on 35, 40 yards from goal and keep going into the box? I think he does. I think he's got pace. I think he showed a really clean pair of heels to get on the end of that through ball from Rio Hatate against Young Boys, which is ultimately what's put us into this round in the first place. I think he's got pace. He's not got the blistering pace of Maeda, who has, and he's not quite as pacey again as Kuhn or Jota. But generally speaking, he's got a ton of pace, and overall there's lots of pace across that front line, whatever move the manager makes. My gut feeling is he will show faith in Adam Maeda. I think that's been his plan, and I think he'll stick with it. Yeah. With Maeda starting on the left and Kuhn on the right. But with the phenomenal option, Paddy, of bringing on a fresh Jota with half an hour to go. And sometimes, obviously, your starting lineup's so important, but sometimes a team that finishes a game can be just as important as the team that starts it. Yeah, without a doubt. And not even a fresh Jota. A Jota that's had training with his first team now for a couple of weeks. I don't think it would take him too long to get up to speed with the system, but definitely getting up to speed with the physicality of how we play, the pace in which we play. He's now had a bit of time with that. And I think that
the minutes he's received leading up to this game have been crucial as well. So no, I think it bodes well. As I say, listen, if it is the three of Jota, Maeda and Kun, I'd still be over the moon about it. I would really understand why that would be the decision made. But I'm not unhappy with either three. I'm over the moon that we've got this opportunity and we've got these players to pick from.
Yeah, do you know? And I think we were all so excited about this game from the moment the draw was made. That excitement's just been cranked up a notch given yesterday's news. You know, it's brought so much more to the occasion, if you like, and that's what it's all about. But yeah, my feeling is that's what we'll go with. Either through the middle, Maeda left, Kun right, with Jota coming in. And what a lift Jota could give you if the game's in the balance at that time, because he is, without a shadow of a doubt, a match winner. There's a comment coming in from Alex, 1967. Alex says, with Maeda available, he has to play. Hard call for BR, both on form and scoring goals. Counter-attack is our strength. Make no mistake, DAIZEN Maeda absolutely starts. Maeda starts. Starts. It's just who the third man is. But DAIZEN Maeda, he's the most important name on the team sheet right now, Paddy. And it's just going to be a buzz to see him, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that he's just loving his football just now. He's Mr. Celtic at the moment, isn't he? And I think that he's really just enjoying and excelling at the same time. And there's no doubt as fans we've all had to be patient with him. But then I think that over the course of it all, we've seen what he can do. And actually, we're now seeing a player with even more confidence and starting to believe in his own ability. I think it's always been there. I think it's always been in the locker. I've called him an enigma in several shows. I'm actually kind of starting to say like he's going to a new level of that, because he's finding form. He's finding scoring form. He's finding some really nice places in the and through the middle if he is playing up front, and he's got a great display of finishing as well, which is just something I didn't fully imagine. But then I go back to that season at Marinos where he scored the 23 and 33, and I think that maybe we've just not realised that he's been played out of position.
Maybe, and we'll need to see, because we all know he's done that job for his national side and for Yokohama Marinos before coming to Scotland. But all we've ever known him, mostly, 95% of the time, is as a left winger who on occasion has popped into centre forward. We might be just about to see the very best of DAIZEN Maeda over these next couple of ties. Just to finish off on DAIZEN, at least for now, I put an article out, so I mentioned the newsletter earlier on, and there's an article that I put out within that, and I described DAIZEN Maeda's own unique brand of football can sometimes be described as unpredictable, erratic, and even chaotic at times, but we wouldn't have it any other way. And that's what it is, Paddy. You just take the rough with the smooth with DAIZEN Maeda and enjoy the ride and see where it takes you. I obviously skipped through the rest of the team, from Kasper Schmeichel up to the front line, but there's no doubt that everyone's got a huge part to play on the night. And on that basis, Paddy, who could be amongst the most important men for Celtic out with the front three that we've just covered?
I think for me, it's Callum McGregor. I think tomorrow night's a huge night for him. You look at Musiala in that position in terms of what he can do. An incredible talent for Bayern Munich, and I think that he will be the guy that tries to put the press on to McGregor, I would assume. And I think that we just need to be clever. Again, I spoke about this in the show yesterday. It would be wise if we were to make sure that McGregor's protected. And I do see the legs of Arne Engels doing that job for him tomorrow. And listen, we're talking about who the main man is. I think it's the mid three for me. I think they are huge in what we do tomorrow night in terms of having any chance. They need to get into positions quickly from any goal kicks, give our goalkeeper an option, give our backline an option if we're playing it out from the back, which we tend to do. But most teams in Europe let us have the ball in the back line, and that's where Celtic need to be quicker. They need to be a lot quicker to try and break through these lines. A lot easier said than done. So easier I'm sitting at a laptop screen talking about this, and they're talking about it in a tactics board with Brendan Rodgers. But I think that is the key for us, and that's the key to success tomorrow, and not exposing ourselves too much going forward as well. But a massive player tomorrow night, and I think somebody will just relish it. I think someone that's been in a really, really good run of form at the moment is Rio Hatate. He loves these games, I think. There's no denying that he probably is struggling to find the motivation against the rest of the best in Scotland. And I think that when it comes to Europe, he's showed up, or sometimes he's just disappeared. But the way he's been playing lately, he's a player for me that's maybe saying, and it's a big if, I want to make the next level, if I want to leave Celtic and go to a bigger club, then there's only one place I can showcase what I'm about, and these are the games.
100%. And I think it's probably fairly evident that Rio Hatate sometimes struggles to get up for the run-of-the-mill games in Scotland. And I'm not excusing that. You're a pro, you're paid well, but you can understand it to an extent. But he does seem to come to life in the bigger games, and certainly no bigger game than tomorrow night. And it's a real chance for Rio Hatate to step up. But I also think there's a number of guys in this Celtic side that may see their medium to long-term future elsewhere. And if you want to kick on to the dizzy heights of the English Premier League or other leagues in Europe, the top 5 that they speak of, then Nicholas Kuhn, Arne Engels, these kind of guys really need to step up to the plate. This is a real opportunity for them to shine on the biggest stage of all. And the 2 guys I've mentioned just as examples, they've also got international aspirations. Yeah. And there's no doubt the eyes of Germany and Belgium and nations across Europe will be watching this one. It's an intriguing tie. And I think lots of folks will be tuned in, and I think it's a real good opportunity for these guys to show the best of themselves. Paddy, I mentioned in the debate about the front 3 and how important it may be for Jota coming off the bench. Who else could have an impact? You've got a Luke McCowan there, really hungry. You've got Jeffrey Schlupp offering some support. You've got Yang with a bit of confidence, and I'm not going to go on my usual Yang chat tonight, but you've got Yang who's got some newfound confidence, and maybe 1 or 2 others. As I say, it's not a game for 11 players. Everyone will play their part, and Celtic may need to go to the bench at some point and see what we've got. 100%,
100%. And we're anticipating and hoping that there's no injuries and it's straight tactical substitutions for us tomorrow. We also, we've spoke about the 2. We've spoke about the impact that Jota or Ida could have in this game tomorrow. Rodgers could go very, very left field and bring Kuhn out to start 11. I don't think he will. But what I'm saying is that front 3 is massive for us as much as the midfield 3 is. Luke McCowan can come in and do a shift. I'd love to see Paulo Bernardo be one of the players that are called upon as well if needed later on in the game. But yeah, it could be Ida, it could be Jota that go and make the difference for us when they come on later on in that game as well. So there's a lot of room for people to show up tomorrow night. I don't think it'll be one player that stands out. I think when you look at the performances of late, yes, albeit DAIZEN MAEDA gets the match ball on Saturday, but we've had some players like, again, Dundee, DAIZEN MAEDA was excellent as well. It's not just been him on the park that's pulling the strings. There's been several good performances at the moment, and there seems to be a bit more of a swagger back with this Celtic team. As I say, we respect who we're playing tomorrow. There's no denying that. And some incredible players that are coming to Celtic Park. That's what we want, though. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to pay our money for. But as I said last night, let's not just say, let's welcome you to the best atmosphere. Let's make it absolute hell for them tomorrow. And from the very get-go, from every touch of their players, we should then on top of it, we should make it a very difficult fixture for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Handshakes and high fives and all that before the game, but once that whistle goes, let's absolutely go for it, all guns blazing. There can be no doubt in their talent, Paddy, and we'll get to that in just a second. There's a few calls. I've kind of glossed over the back 4, and within that, I've got Greg Taylor, taking his usual spot at left back. But there's a couple of calls for Jeffrey Schlupp, from Pat McLaughlin. I think Gypsy King earlier on in the piece was asking the question. I'll ask you at the same time whether you think Schlupp may or may not start, but also the question has been asked, who picks up Harry Kane? One of the best strikers in the game. We've got Thomas Burns, famous Celtic name, Tommy Burns. Harry Kane is one of the best strikers in the world. His goal ratio in Germany is absolutely outstanding. And Thomas is spot on there, Paddy. Paddy, you've got the stats actually on Kane, so your thoughts on him and what the back line will need to do?
You feel for Harry Kane. I actually think that Asa made a good point. I think he is one of those ones. He's like a likeable character, and you look at the move he made, a very brave move to leave the Premier League and the heights that has, and go a massive club in Bayern Munich. And you feel for the first season not getting any silverware again. But for me, 28 goals in 28 games with 10 assists this season. He's not letting up. A really, really strong player, and yeah, absolutely someone we'll need to watch. Someone we'll need to be on top of as much as possible. But I kind of think that when you look at the likes of Trusty against Ollie Watkins last week, for example, he'll take confidence from that. I'm not saying that Watkins is near Kane's level. I wouldn't say he is. He's not far off it, though. He's not far off it. And I think that when you look at Kane, he's not got the pace that he looked like he used to have. And that's where it's going to be important. They're going to try and get us in the counter with their midfielders, almost similar to what we did see from Dortmund. So we need to be smart. We need to be clever. We need to look at how we lined up against Atalanta, bring a bit of that into the performance tomorrow. I think tomorrow night you'll see a little bit of a more reserved fullback situation in terms of Alistair Johnston and Greg Taylor, and I think they might be a little bit more disciplined about how far up they go. Yeah,
and I think that would make sense. And we've seen the high line that Celtic's forwards played against Dortmund. It was Maeda and Kunin that night, wasn't it? And just hindsight's a great thing in football, but too high up the park, and we were severely punished. Less so for Atalanta. They were more disciplined. They were deeper, allowed the back line and the fullbacks to stay a bit more disciplined, and we got the reward that night. Just a quick one on Schlupp then, not for you in terms of starting?
I wouldn't say so, and it's nothing against him. I just still think it's maybe a bit too early for him. And what you don't need is a guy like Jeffrey Schlupp, who we may call upon for the rest of the season, coming in and having an absolute nightmare against such a big team like Bayern Munich. It's not good for the confidence. Greg Taylor is someone that's, sticks and stones have been thrown at him lately by fans, and we've all spoke about everything he's done for Celtic. He's got very thick skin, GT3, and I think that for me, he gets the nod for tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Paddy, just to go back briefly to Harry Kane, so he is a top striker and has been for some time now. You say he's a likeable enough character, and overall I would agree with that. I really, really, though, don't like his diving and his antics when it comes to that. Some will call it cute, some will call it the modern game. I think it's pretty pathetic how easily he goes down at any point in any part of the park, and he's always looking for a penalty. And it's something we'll need to be so switched on to, because I think the threshold for what is and isn't a penalty in Europe is pretty light, and I don't think there needs to be much contact. Yeah,
and that's exactly why he does it. I mean, I think the amount of times Celtic don't want to win games that way. Absolutely not. And there's no place in football for it. But there has been, and there will continue to be. And it's not just Harry Kane that goes down too easily. There's many players at a high level that have done the same. So, no, I know what you mean. It's something that I'd love for all players to eradicate out the game. We speak about how easy defenders go down when they're under pressure with the ball. We speak about it at corner kicks. It's not any different when a forward's through and goal, and they know that if I just get one slightest bit of contact, I'm away. Kane's very good at it. That's the thing. He's been very successful in winning penalties for Spurs, Bayern, and for England. So, yeah, we need to be careful with that. And Trusty, I tell you what, he'll not want to make the same mistake he did the last time. It might not have looked a penalty, but it was enough for the referee to say it's enough for me.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be much of that level. Cameron Carter-Vickers, I think he was speaking to the media because he spent time, at Spurs and trained on a daily basis with Harry Kane. Said he was phenomenal, as we all know, but he's seen him up close. And that'll likely be the matchup. That'll probably be it, toe-to-toe. There's a good point, I think it's by Eugene in the comments, that at times Kane will drop deep to get the ball and allow Musiala to make the run beyond him. And that'll be something that Celtic will need to look out for. What we do know, Paddy, is that Celtic will have been doing their homework. None of this will be news to Celtic.
No.
If anyone from the club's tuning in, the players will be well versed on this, and they'll know who to look out for. And
I like to think that the idea that Spurs started loaning out Cameron Carter-Vickers is because he was making it too hard for Harry Kane in training. So
that's
here's hope that that's the drill for tomorrow night.
Yeah, they were trying to keep Harry's confidence up, and CCV was destroying it on a daily basis.
We're sorry, Harry, we'll get rid of him. There you go, mate. He's gone.
Just the final stats on Kane from Pat McLaughlin is that he was the quickest player to score 50 Bundesliga goals. I presume, of all time. And he's got 55 goals in 50 Bundesliga games. It's exceptional. There's no doubt in the quality he possesses. But there's other talents there, Paddy. Before I kick on, just a quick hello to the Prophet. Prophet's not been around a while, but he's generally a good friend of the show. Good to see him here in the comments. He's gone for 3-0, but we'll get to all the scoreline predictions in just a wee while. But Paddy, as I say, aside from Kane, aside from Musiala, there's real talent across this side. There is.
I think you even look at the likes of what they have. They've got. I like doing the Derek Ray pronunciation here. It's Joshua Kimmich, who is just an incredible player, a very tidy footballer, and just probably a level above any of our midfield. I wouldn't hesitate in saying that. So he can pull the strings for Bayern. You also look at Kingsley Coman. He's stayed at Bayern for a long time. He ran right with us over in Munich the last time we played them, and I think he's a player who on his day is excellent, but he can stint the place out as well. And then you've got Leroy Sané, who potentially can come in off the bench as well. They are flooded with talent. Goretzka is in and out the starting lineup as well. Great players. So we're up against it. The saving grace is the backline. It's not great this season. The likes of Upamecano, I think, and Kim, they're at a crossroads with each other. Sometimes they can lose the player in behind them, and I think that's got to be our outlet. We've got to look at getting that ball quick. They'll try and play an offside trap against us tomorrow, I think. And yeah, we just try and get them on the counter. What we need to think about is how unsuccessful the counter was for us against Young Boys, and we need to work on that and make sure that we're not making the same mistakes. Yeah, and we do need to be ruthless. Chances in a game like this will be at a premium, and we need to absolutely, make the most of any opportunities we get. Even the at Villa in the first half, I've mentioned the fact that Celtic pressed high at times and were successful in their press, won the ball back. I think of an example of Yang at one point, maybe Hatate another, where we won it high, but we didn't capitalise. In fact, definitely Rio Hatate found himself in the 18-yard box out of nowhere and just clipped it into Emi Martinez's hands in that game. We've got to be ruthless. We've got to make the most of it. But the chat around, whether it's articles we've read or different things we've listened to, is that they can be got at the back. What do you call him? Upamecano, the French guy. I've probably killed that pronunciation, but him and Kim, the South Korean, are the centre-half pairing, and by all accounts, that's where Celtic could get a bit of joy. We know all about the pace we've got. They've obviously got a very good goalkeeper in Manuel Neuer, sweeper keeper and all that kind of stuff, and they've got experience in the shape of guys like Thomas Müller. But so there's no doubt in the quality. And to get something from it, Paddy, I've mentioned that the players absolutely need to be at their best, and to get any joy in a night like this, of your 11, you maybe need 8 or 9 to be on top form and 1 or 2 to be not far behind. And there's no doubt about that. But how big a part do the fans have to play? How big a part can we play in trying to get some sort of result here tomorrow? It's huge, isn't it? I think that we have, well, myself mainly, grown up and looking at European nights at Celtic Park and the cauldron that you spoke about, the fortress that Martin O'Neill built with that Celtic side and the runs that we had. You used to look at the Champions League draws and Celtic would be saying we should get our 3 wins at home. And that wasn't a if, but, or maybe. That was a we should go and definitely take that. Now you look at it, and it's kind of something we touched on last night's show, is that players will talk about the Celtic atmosphere, but they're still leaving with a 5-6, 7-0 victory sometimes against us. I think when you look at obviously the progress under Ange, just the start of what we were trying to do, then the first season with Brendan Rodgers and being a little bit more street smart in Europe and saying that we can't afford these results, because we go through a long season in domestic football in Scotland. We love it. We want to win our leagues. We want to win our trebles. But, it's not every day that we're seeing ourselves up against talents like this. Absolutely. And it's an incredible occasion. It's an incredible moment for us as fans. But we also want to try and lay out love, at least. And I think that we have been too respectful to teams. I do. I'm not saying I'm going to get in the face. I remember watching Real Madrid and guys saying, just tackle them. Sometimes we just weren't getting anywhere near their players. But I just think that they're coming to Celtic Park. We need to make it hard for them. And if there's one thing that can help towards that, is the atmosphere from the crowd. As I say, you look at the Champions League roar at the song, you look at the huddle, you look at walk on, you look at that element, the build-up play. I think fans, going back to the O'Neill era, were on top of every single team for the first 5-10 minutes when they had the ball. And I think I'd love to see that tomorrow night. I'd love to see it, a bowl of sheer hate. And it's not any disrespect to Bayern Munich. It's to put them under pressure for our team to go and relish that opportunity.
Didn't have you down as a hater, Paddy, but I know what you're saying. I think I know what you're saying there. There is such a thing in football, whenever I pick this up, this kind of healthy disrespect. It's okay to, to kind of acknowledge who the opposition are, but then, as I say, once the whistle goes, go hell for leather and do everything.
I want an unhealthy Tino.
An unhealthy disrespect. We'll see if it gets you cancelled, Paddy. If it does get you cancelled, FTB won't mind, because Miff is his guy. FTB's asking, where is Miff these days? Is he still on the pod? He absolutely is. He's just had to miss a couple of weekly shows for different reasons. He was on last week, and he should be back next week. There's a few different things on, but Miff is never far away, so don't worry about that. Paddy, I've asked about the role that the fans have got to play, and it's undoubtedly huge for all the reasons you've given there. What about the manager? This is a real test for Brendan Rodgers, and I've argued about the fact that these are the games that Arne Engels and Rio Hatate and Nicholas Kuhn and Jota and Ida and everyone is here for. The manager is at Celtic for this as well. It wasn't an easy decision, I'm sure, for him to decide to come back to Celtic, knowing that in certain quarters it would have been an unpopular choice at the time. But he's here now, and he's picked up a couple of trophies so far, 3 in total, I think, isn't it? But Europe is a big thing for him. He stated it in his first interview, and this is a big stage. Stage 1 complete in terms of getting through the league campaign of the new Champions League. This is the next level. This is a level Celtic haven't been at for some time. It's a level Brendan Rodgers hasn't been at for some time. And this is a massive night for him, second time around at Celtic.
Huge. And I think that, if there's one person that believes his own hype, it's Brendan Rodgers. The thing for me with tomorrow is that he's a realist, and it's easy for me to come on and say, I'll give them hell, make it really difficult for them. But our manager will be the calmest man in the stadium. And he'll be aware of their threats. He'll know what they're capable of. But what he has done is install confidence. And I'm looking at the comment from Alex, 1967, the Bunnet. I love that. Dortmund did teach us a huge lesson. But we have kicked on from that moment, and I think that I would love just to see that confidence, not just in this campaign, but the next European campaign, just continue. We win our league, and we win our league convincingly. A lot of the time, we deserve to be playing at this level. We are one of the champions of Europe, and I think that we're dwarfed with money. We know that, absolutely. But what we've seen in the last couple of years, what we've seen in the last 3 years of participation in this tournament, is that we are starting to find a little bit of, right, well, here's what we can try and do, and here's what we can try and achieve. And I think that the progress this season is absolutely brilliant. I don't think our manager wants to stop here. I don't.
No, absolutely. I don't think he's the kind of guy that's ever satisfied with, all right, we've done that. That's great. Let's just sit back and relax and lap it up. It's always about the next level. And it's Celtic, and you hear this a lot in interviews from guys like Callum McGregor. We've just won the league. It's brilliant. What's next? Where's the next trophy? Yeah. Is it the Scottish Cup? Is it next season's league? Is it Europe? Whatever it is, you've always got to be looking forward. And I think that's absolutely one of the many mantras of Brendan Rodgers, and that's how he'll be viewing things. Paddy, there's a fairly solid home record that Celtic have built up in recent times in the Champions League. I was checking with yourself and asked him last night. I couldn't quite recall if it was 4 or 5 games. It's 6 games unbeaten at Celtic Park now in the Champions League. It goes back into last season's campaign where we remained unbeaten against Atletico Madrid and Feyenoord. And then this season we've taken care, or at least avoided defeat, Slovan Bratislava, Leipzig, Bruges and Young Boys. That in itself must give huge confidence to the players, in terms of knowing that they can compete in this level. You'll get snipers in the media frustratingly so from our own media that will say that Celtic don't deserve to be here at times. You then don't need to look far down south to your Talk Sports and all that, who cannot wait to sink the boot into Celtic. It's just something that they go for whatever reason. But Celtic should be proud of what they've done and what they are doing at home in Europe. And who knows, in terms of the bigger picture of this two-leg tie, it's going to be such a challenge to go through. But there's an increasingly solid home record to be proud of. And the hope is that we can maintain that tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, you're talking about TalkSport. We all know the reason there's a hate towards Celtic. It's still ingrained in parts of society, but that's a separate podcast. I think for me, we need to think about what we then go and show and what we're all about in this stage. And I think that we do belong here. There was a point in the last 10 years where I said that we're not a Champions League club. I looked at the way that we were playing, the way that we were operating as a club, the players we were signing, Kazim Richards, Carlton Cole, John Guidetti on loan failing as well. We kind of discussed a little bit about him last night. We weren't operating in the hope of progressing. We were operating just on the fact that we just had to kind of kick the can down the road a little bit. But looking at the financials of the team, looking at obviously what we found out yesterday about the operating profits that we've had this season as well, looking at the squad and breaking that transfer record, as I said, twice last summer. There's still a long way to go in terms of the structure of the club, but it is starting to move in the right direction. So this is our third season in this tournament. We speak about the qualifier that we'll have to play. It's hopefully another season in the Champions League next year for us as well. So we need to start thinking that we do belong to be at this level. And I think that that's something that our managers definitely bringing to us. And if we go and cause upsets, then it's even better when the whole of the world is watching and not just a couple of pundits down in a studio down in England. Yeah,
that would make it all the sweeter. But I think all fans of Celtic, the majority anyway, would be more than happy to see progress of any sorts in Europe, whatever it looks like. But would love to fly high and all of a sudden you reach quarterfinals and beyond and all that stuff. But, there's a realism about all of that. But as long as you're doing that wee bit better than the previous year, the challenge last year for Brendan Rodgers' side actually was, can we go and win a game? Because we hadn't won any games under Ange or the previous campaign. This time around, we go and take care of Feyenoord, albeit, it was the last game of the group and it didn't mean too much, but it was important to get that monkey off the back. Then you go into this season's campaign and we've won several games and we've remained unbeaten, as we say, for 6 games. And it's progress and it's knockout football now. And who knows beyond that? And this might be the end of the journey, for this season against Bayern Munich. We hope not. And, we've spoken about the real possibilities for Celtic. But if it is, so be it. Let's see what we can do next year. Can we get back to this level and beyond and continue on this upward curve that we seem to be on at this moment in time? Paddy, I'll come to you just in one moment for your own scoreline prediction. In the meantime, I'll ask everyone in the channel, anyone who's watching live, to let us know what you think the score will be. We've already got a 3-0 from the Prophet. Let us know in advance. That is a bold scoreline, I presume. He means to Celtic, which is good to see. Also, a big hello and thanks to John Wilson. John's become a member here of the channel and can now comment. So good to see John and various others here. So let us know your scoreline predictions and why. And in the meantime, Paddy, I'll put the very same question to yourself.
I'm thinking tomorrow we will give a good account of ourselves. I'm going to go for 2-1 tomorrow night, Tino. I think that we need just one of those displays where it's all hands on deck and just see what we can muster up. I think it'll be a good defensive display tomorrow. I've got a real belief in that. And I think that the likes of Maeda, Nicholas Kuhn on the counter will catch them out.
I mean, we'd love to see it, Paddy. Asamas last night, would you take a draw?
I would take a draw, absolutely. I would be proud if we got a draw tomorrow night because it gives us a chance over in Germany as well. But I'd take a win because it gives us a better chance. Yeah.
If we get a draw, you'll go home proud. If we get a win, you'll go home drunk. Is that the way it's looking?
Every chance.
Some positive vibes, though, in the chat. We've got Sean Bush. Sean's going for 3-1. Same as last German team at home, Leipzig, of course, but don't think it'll be enough. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a huge challenge in the second leg, but we'll take it one leg at a time. Bundle of Fun, he's also gone 2-1 for Celtic. Again, thinking we might get an away, not away goals, but with the away leg taken into consideration. Fred Williams, good friend of the show. Fred's gone for 2 each. Chowpill, same as you, Paddy, 2-1 Celtic. He thinks Kane will score. Pat McLaughlin's gone for 3-2. Let me see just a couple more. Lots of 2-1s. Jim Kennedy, good to see Jim here. 2-1 Celtic, FTB, 2-1 the Hoops, and Rebel X 3-1. I don't know where I'm at, Paddy. I really do not know where I'm at. The DAIZEN MAEDA news has thrown me in a good way, and it's given real scope for optimism. G-Doc's gone 4-1, Maeda back-to-back hat-tricks, and what a delight that would be.
Incredible.
I think Celtic can steal it. I do get accused of never the optimist and all that kind of stuff. It could be a topsy-turvy night. I seen someone somewhere else talking about some of the betting for tonight and tomorrow, and the over 2.5 goals is a good shout, i.e. 3 goals or more at Celtic Park. I think there could be goals in it. You know, I think we know that we are at times capable, certainly, of conceding Europe, but this Celtic side can score goals. And I think this Celtic side, regardless if it's Bayern Munich or any other of the big hitters, we can score goals against anybody at Celtic Park in Europe. I'm going to go for a bit of a mad one. I'm going to go 3-2. I know it was said elsewhere. Let me see if I can find one. Square Sausage Mick. Don't think that's his real name, Paddy. He's gone for 3-2. And yeah, let's go with that. 3-2. And what a night of high drama that would be at Celtic Park. Paddy, as I said at the top. Say that again.
I don't think my heart could take that 3-2.
No, it'd be a bit stressy for us all. As I said at the top of the piece, Paddy, we're now counting hours. You know, we really are getting closer and closer to kick-off. So on that note, I'll ask for your final comments ahead of Celtic v Bayern Munich tomorrow night at Celtic Park.
Yeah, I'm just excited. It's really nice to be back at this stage, and you have to believe. You know, it's what we do as football fans. You're either optimistic or pessimistic, and I feel that there's not many chances for Celtic to get to the knockout stages of the Champions League. I do think it's an aim for our manager to do this and for this club to do this every season. So when you get here, it's a question of why not. You know, stranger things have happened in football. And I don't mind saying that why not, we can beat anyone on our day. And if we get beat, I'd still honestly respect the team that we're playing against, and also respect my own team for the effort that they've put into this campaign this season. I think it's been a brilliant Champions League campaign, and you just think to the people that are saying, oh, if we were to beat Zagreb or if we were to beat Club Brugge, you think to what the manager said when he first came in of, let's get our Champions League win. You know, how far we've came from that point that, you know, we're now looking to see what we could have done if we won other games that could have been important, could have brought us into the top 8. But I think we find ourselves where we are because this is the level we're at the moment. And Bayern Munich have not finished in the top 8 for the level that they're at in the moment. So, yeah, they've got bigger resources. They're a bigger club than us. They've got better players, absolutely. But it's who wants it more sometimes in these occasions. And I think that you've just got to go in with that belief. I always remember coming in with the same belief against Juventus, and I was sitting down after 3 minutes when I think it was Gilardino had scored against us. A great display for them, as well as a whole load of cheating in the box at corners. So I'm ready for the acceptance that it might not go our way, but I want to go to the stadium and I want to have a good night, and I want to believe that we can do it. And
it's all about you, Paddy. As long as you have a good night, we'll all have a good night. Just to finish off, there's a couple of guys. I don't know what you want to call it, being a bit more pragmatic in the comments. Let me see if I can find a couple of them quickly. Stephen McInally and Frank Kennedy, and you know, we're going to struggle. We'll lose by at least 3. If that's what you're at, absolutely fine. You know, everyone's got their take on it and stuff. And the lads there might well be correct. That might be the way it goes. But I remember at times last year, or maybe under Ange it was, people were saying to me, "Don't get carried away." I'm here to get carried away. That's what it's all about as a football fan. It's the kind of dare to dream kind of scenario. You're here now. You know, we've got Bayern Munich now. You might as well go and enjoy it and hope for the best. What's the alternative? Spend the rest of tonight and tomorrow in the lead up to kick-off going, we're going to get hammered anyway. What's the point? Do you know what I mean? But that for me, that's not what it's about. It's not what following Celtic's about. It's not what following any football team's about. Yeah, you can be real about it. And as I said earlier on in the piece, our European journey could absolutely stop here. You know, between tonight and tomorrow night and next week over in Germany, that could be the end of it. And if that's the case, then so be it. But in the meantime, I'll get carried away, I'll dare to dream, and we'll see where it takes us. Paddy, thanks for joining us here tonight for this one. Really enjoyed it. Thanks to everyone who continues to support us and to join us here in the live comments. Really appreciate it. If you want to continue supporting the Celtic Exchange, be sure to check out the show notes for different ways you can do so. But in the meantime, hope it's a really, really special night for all of us at Celtic Park tomorrow night. Kick off 8 o'clock. We simply cannot wait. Bring it on. We'll see you all again really soon.